off with Bellator. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Jason Jackson, who this past weekend at Bellator 301 at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois, about an hour away where I was from, he defeated the great Yaroslav Azimov. Am I saying his name right? Amosov by knockout in the third round. The official time 2:08 of round number 3, defeating the undefeated Amosov. Mark, start us off. Give us your take of the surprising performance by Jason Jackson.
What a sport. What a sport. Amosov was minus 500 in some places coming into this fight. And I think what we really learned here is that we, and by we I mean the MMA community like as a whole, evaluated both of these guys' levels incorrectly. For Jason Jackson, I know I myself looked at him as a solid, big, strong guy, good wrestler, serviceable hands. But I had him pegged as a guy who was maybe in the top 20, 25 welterweights if, say, he had come to the UFC. Like, probably never ranked unless he got the right type of matchups. Maybe like he's fighting Santiago Ponzinibbio, like something like that. That's kind of where I had Jason Jackson in my brain. And I think his Bellator resume of mostly older guys in Douglas Lima and Paul Daly and Jordan Mean, and then smaller guys like Bendo and, guys who are kind of a one-trick pony like Neiman Gracie, like that resume, it didn't really have anyone so thrilling on it. And I think it kind of tricked us all into missing how good Jason Jackson was. And then on the flip side with Amosov, I think as much as I tried to resist viewing him as like a top 5 welterweight in the world because of the same thing about who he was fighting in Bellator, he had been so damn impressive and so damn dominant, and he was 27-0, and it just hit a point where it felt like you couldn't deny it anymore. And the rest of the world, I feel like, was on board with this as well, where we had thought, if he came to the UFC, he'd probably be in the mix contending for a title. And I think now we realize that was probably a little too aggressive too, because I don't think he's that. So I think going into this fight, one guy was underrated and one guy was overrated, and we found that out. Did Amosov have a bad night? Maybe he did. Who knows? He certainly didn't look great. I don't know how much of that was him, how much of that was Jackson. But no matter how you slice it, I don't think I've been that shocked in MMA in a while. There probably is something not that long ago I'm forgetting. I feel like there's a lot of shockers in MMA, but not that I'm thinking off top. Not that I didn't think Jason Jackson could compete, but to see him do it the way he did was unreal. I mean, he won every round. He walked him down. He stuffed every takedown, and he put him out. That was complete dominance from Jason Jackson and a massive, massive statement on his talent level. And on the finish, just to say, the amount of people who can't seem to see this right uppercut that clips Amosov behind the left ear on his way down is wild. Like, there's so many people like, wow, he got KO'd by a stuffed takedown. I've never seen that before. Like, his head must have got pushed into the mat. Like, it's a perfectly placed uppercut. I don't know how people are not seeing that. Even Big John didn't see it on the broadcast. So I don't get that one. But anyway, yeah, unbelievable finish. Jason Jackson fought the most perfect fight I think he could fight. We'll see how Amosov rebounds from here, but holy hell, what a night, and on a huge card for Jason Jackson to do what he did.
Omar, what were your thoughts? Were you surprised at all by the performance of Jason Jackson?
I think I was surprised at the dominance of it all. I think I expected a more competitive fight. I think there were moments for Amosov where, we saw him kind of have grappling control, but then wasn't really able to do much with it even when he did get it. And Jason Jackson looked great on the feet, man. He looked fantastic. His hands looked really good. His distance was fantastic. He had real pop in his strikes. Amosov looked like there was nothing behind a lot of the strikes that he was throwing. He was doing a lot of circling around the cage, a lot of backpedaling. And the reality is doing that stuff is just going to make you wear yourself out a lot faster than when you walk forward. And I think that was really the biggest difference at the end of the day was the pressure. Jason Jackson was walking forward, and I think the one thing that people don't really notice, if you haven't been in a situation like that, if you're not used to footwork and things like that, cutting off angles is a big deal and creates a lot of goddamn problems if you're on the bad end of things, like Amosov was, right? He's circling the cage, trying to kind of find his way out using lateral movement, but instead of following him in a straight line, in front of Amosov, he was able to kind of cut a corner and still follow him, but at a different angle that didn't really give the same opportunity for escape for Amosov. And I don't know if we've ever really seen Amosov get walked down like that. And it might have something to do with the pressure. It might be that he's not used to or doesn't like to deal with pressure like that. A lot of guys are very comfortable keeping distance, keeping range, using their using their takedowns when they're getting pressured. But when you can't do that against somebody who has damn good takedown defense, then maybe that's what we saw here with Amosov. So beautiful performance from Jason Jackson, fantastic takedown defense, fantastic striking, and a real killer instinct to really get him out of there in the end.
Yeah, man. So that being said, what could be next for Jason Jackson, the new champ? Mark?
I would think you go rematch here. Amosov has been dominant enough that I feel he deserves to run it right back, and there's honestly no clear contender who's kind of separated himself from the pack and is necessarily waiting in the wings. So, things are going to get weird with this, PFL purchase of Bellator, which we'll talk about later in this episode. I'm not sure exactly how things do shake out, but if we're looking at just the Bellator roster, I think that running it back is the thing that makes the most sense for both guys.